Basically, Explosion Sports Academy is a sports performance company. And we have 4 parts that we do. Number 1, we do speed training, speed and strength training for all sports. Basketball, football, lacrosse, baseball. The second phase is we've partnered with Pop and Warner Youth, which is a national youth football organization. And we run all of the 7-on-7, they use 7-on-7 leagues and flag football leagues. The third part of the company is college recruiting seminars. I used to travel all across the Midwest and do college recruiting seminars at various high schools. And basically what that is we would set an appointment with the school for like 7 in the evening throughout the week, and then we'll invite parents and potential student athletes and just kind of talk about the college recruiting process. And there's 4 parts of that for people that are interested in being college student athletes. Number 1, we talk about the academic piece. What do you need? The sliding scale, the clearinghouse, testing dates. We go over all of those different things. The second thing is the sports performance piece. How to prepare yourself to be physically and mentally ready to be a collegiate athlete. Out of 100%, say for instance, we'll do it this way. 25% of all freshmen that are on scholarship athletically, they flunk out after their freshman year. Meaning, by the end of your senior year, probably only half of the kids that you started with in that recruiting group will be there. And the main reason is most of them aren't mentally and physically prepared to be a student athlete on a collegiate level. I mean, roughly you're going to do, let's break it down like this. Say for instance, I'm a full-time student. I'm taking 15 hours. So 15 hours out of your week is in class. And then you're going to spend, depending on what your major is, if you're an engineer or pre-med, you're going to spend probably another 15 to 20 hours a week outside of the classroom in study groups and things like that. So if I added it all up, roughly you're putting in probably a 60-hour a week as a student athlete compared to just a regular student where you just go to class and go to study groups, because you got 20 hours of practice time, you got 15 hours in class, you maybe have another 15 to 20 hours outside of class. So time management becomes a huge deal as far as being a student athlete. And a lot of kids aren't prepared for that on the collegiate level. All right. And then the third thing is the actual recruiting process. We go from A to Z, how the actual recruiting process goes, official visits, unofficial visits, what can the school do, what can't the school do, phone calls, Facebook, Twitter, we cover all those things. And then the 4th part of the actual college recruiting seminar is actually how to market yourself to the actual schools. One interesting fact about that, I mean, who plays sports in here? So quite a few of you understand what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to ask you this. How many of you want to play Division I sports? No one wants to play Division I? No one wants to play Mizzou? No one wants to play Iowa, Nebraska? Come on, man. If you could, would you play at Mizzou or Alabama? I mean, realistically, realistically, most kids that play high school sports and want to play collegiate, they want to play Division I. I mean, because that's where the money is. They're on television. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. But only 30% of all student athletes in the country, high school student athletes, play Division I sports. So that means 70% of all scholarships come from the 1AA, Division II, NAIA level. So what we do is we talk about that, and we try to give parents and student athletes a realistic expectation as far as the recruiting process. One of the things that we do, one of the examples I use, if you go to any high school basketball game, and I'll use boys because I don't get to watch too much girls, but if you go to any high school basketball game, majority of the kids are under 6 foot, am I right? You'll have some teams with a 6'7" kid, but they're rare and far and few between. So North Carolina's not recruiting too many 5'8" point guards. You just don't see it. Most of their point guards are over 6 foot. So there's a guideline that they go by as far as recruiting goes. You understand what I'm saying? So as a 5'8" point guard, realistically, I have to be really, really special in order to play Division I basketball, or I have to start looking at the Division II level. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of put perspective on, you know, where to, because I mean, the faster that you discern where you can play sports, it's easier to get a scholarship there, because the way that it's structured, Division I, as a football player, September, they can offer you a scholarship September 1st of your junior year, if you're really good, okay? And Division I athletes tend to commit earlier earlier and earlier. They'll recruit, committed during junior days or whatnot. But and the way that it works, once Division I kind of fills up their recruiting spot, that's kind of when Division I AA and Division II and NAIA come in. So since we're in the football recruiting season, we'll talk a little bit about that. So once football is over in November, that's when the Division II and I AA schools come in. Okay, as far as setting up their visits and stuff like that. So they kind of, I don't want to say scraps, but they kind of take all the kids that the Division I schools didn't want. So the recruiting window was a lot shorter. Okay, that makes sense? So basically that's what we're talking about at the college recruiting seminar. It's just kind of putting the perspective on different things. And then I have a book that that I break down, and it kind of gives a guideline on each sport. It's for each sport, kind of what colleges are looking for, Division I colleges are looking for. As far as volleyball, what they're looking for, soccer, what are they looking for in the midfield or a goalie, I'm sorry. And then the last part of it is, did I go for flag football? Yeah, I went on flag football. And then the last part of it is the football skills development. It's basically what the football skills development is. I contract with 13 different coaches. I have a coach for each position, and we train those kids for an hour every Sunday. So I have a guy that works with quarterbacks. I have a guy that works with receivers. I have a guy that works with every position and try to develop the skill set of each kid. All right. So that in a nutshell is Explosion Sports. Like I said, we have 4. Those are our 4 components. Trying to think if I missed anything. It felt like I talked longer the first class.
I know what I feel like every day.
And what else did we go over? Oh, just kind of the background of myself. I actually started this company in 2006, but when I started it in 2006, I did just one-on-one training. Last year was the first year that we opened it up for group training. So we're going into a different phase so that we can handle more kids. Usually we work with anywhere from 35 to 50 kids a week. I usually do my sports performance training sessions in groups, usually from 5 to 8 kids. That's probably the most that I can handle at a time. If we get more than that, I'll do a second session or a third session. So that just kind of give you a background of how those sessions are set up. Can't remember everything that we went over in the first session, but that's pretty much the gist of it. If you guys got any questions, we can just open it up for questions. And then if I remember something, I'll just kind of go.
Where do the majority of these kids come from geographically?
Geographically, most of my kids come from North County, Mid-County. We're actually going for more of a 10 to 15 mile radius this year. And the way that we're going to promote that is we're going to do 5 free camps. We're going to do one in Fairview Heights, Illinois. We'll do one in Alton, Illinois. And then we'll do one at Gateway High School. And then the other 2 spots are yet to be determined. So we're looking for a 15-mile radius within that particular area. And then next year we're looking to expand in the facility in South County.
Do you still offer the one-on-one training? Okay.
Well, we saw a lot of competition. What do you think makes you stand out from other competition?
I think that the thing that makes us stand out, more so, we're not about numbers, you know what I'm saying? We're more so for the quality of service. Just give you a history of the actual company, and I'll tell you what I believe makes me different. When I started in 2006, I was actually just fresh out of college, like 3 years, and it was a kid. He was my first kid I ever trained. And he was in the YMCA just training, and he didn't actually know, he was in 8th grade, he didn't actually know what he was doing, and he was kind of hurting himself, so I kind of took him under my wing, and we just started training and developing, and he actually got a scholarship to play at Purdue. But the moral to that story is he couldn't afford it, you know what I'm saying? So my thing was always being able to provide a service for the majority of people. So, I mean, the thing is, the fact of the matter is, if you have money, you can pretty much buy anything you want. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, if you can afford $40 an hour, you can afford $40 an hour. Majority of people can. And you're talking on a weekly basis. So that's kind of where we're put in. We're kind of, I want to say, we're probably the second lowest, maybe, as far as pricing. So, I mean, money's never been my object. I mean, in business, it sounds funny. In business, your whole object is to make money, but it's never been the basis of what I've always done. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that my quality of the product that I put out, you know, it all comes together at the end of the day.
Okay.
So.
Do you have additional like employees or people who work with you for these camps?
Yeah, I actually have 13 coaches that I contract with. Most of them are football coaches, so they do a lot of the skill development. And then I also contract with a former Olympic sprinter. She ran for Jamaica in, like, I believe it's 1980, I want to say. She's a former Jamaican sprinter. She worked with the New York Giants when they're sports performance. So I do a lot of consulting work with her. And then this other guy that I consult with, he was in the Olympic trials, but he didn't make it. So.
Do you have any interest in getting more coaches that have a variety of different sports, like maybe someone who specializes in baseball or something other than football?
Well, as far as sports performance, the way that I customize the workouts, they're sports specific.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like with baseball players, I'll do more stuff with like rotator cuffs and more so with abs because they're constantly twisting and turning, and that generates velocity and power when they're throwing and they're hitting. Where the workout will be a lot different for a football player. We'll do a lot more speed ladder and increase foot quickness, first step quickness. So the workouts are actually custom for each specific. As far as skill training, we're in the process. I'm thinking maybe 2014 or 2015, we're actually in the process of starting a nonprofit called Explosion Sports Academy Foundation. And we're trying to partner with the St. Louis City public schools. Out of the 17 high schools in St. Louis City, only 2 have weight rooms. So a lot of the kids that play in those actual environments, they're not physically ready, you know what I'm saying, to play at the collegiate level. So they're already behind once they get there.
You have 4 components under Explosion Sports Academy. Do you try to brand these components differently or keep them all under the same roof?
I keep them all under the same roof except for the college recruiting seminars. The thing with the college recruiting seminars is actually through Dynamite Sports, and I'm contracted with Dynamite Sports. So anytime I go into the actual school, it'll say Dynamite Sports College Recruiting Seminar sponsored by Explosion Sports. Okay.
What's the percentage on like the athletes that you get on the ones that like go in there for football or they go in there for basketball? Like how many football players do you get compared to basketball, baseball, or any other sport?
Probably 90% football because that's always what I've done. That kind of opened the door for the other sports. Right now I'm doing, outside of football, I do more girls. Softball and basketball, not so much more guys basketball. So, and then the next phase, we're trying to do more lacrosse and things of that nature. So,
The college recruiting seminars, is that for all the sports or primarily football?
All sports. I'll give you a little more detail on those. When I come in and do those, like I said, we'll do a rundown on the actual. Like in this book, we provide a book. I usually sell it for what I say, $10. I think it's $10, and I get $5 per book off-sold. But in the book, it actually breaks down every sport. It breaks down the number of scholarships that a Division II school can offer scholarships compared to a Division I school. It breaks down how what schools are actually looking for as far as athletes, as far as position, height, weight, speed. So all those things, those components are actually covered in the actual seminar. And then what we do at the end, because I don't have enough time to cover every sport, I'll open it up for discussion. And a lot of times parents will be like, well, what is, like for instance, in baseball, the example might be Florida State. What does Florida State look for a first baseman? What do they look for in a first baseman? You know what I'm saying? Because it's based off of the timing is based off how fast you can get from home plate to first base. So there's a time for that. What height are they looking for? You know, it just kind of gives you a general, and then they work from there. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that for every sport in the actual book.
As far as times of year goes, what time of year are you most busy?
The way I'm structured right now, because I do coach football, I usually go 8 months out of the year. Usually from this year was actually first year I took a vacation, but usually I'm working from December all the way up until August. I did some college training this December. kids were home for break, so I did do some training. I usually don't, but so.
Are there any like winter sports that you provide other than like football and stuff? But I don't know. Do you have like hockey or other mainly winter sports?
Well, as far as hockey goes, it's not a big sport in North County.
Yeah.
So it's kind of based off the demographics, kind of what's the bigger sports. So, because that's the area that I'm based out of right now. So it's kind of generated to those particular, what are the big sports in those particular areas. Like softball is huge in South County, so I don't get as many softball kids, but I mean softball girls, but I do get some.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like lacrosse isn't big in North County. Yeah, I mean the Bomber, I think it's the Sun Trucks. They just started lacrosse down in Matthews Dickey about 3-4 years ago, so it's starting to catch on. It just depends on, what's the bigger sports in that particular area.
So if someone came to you like a wrestler or something, for example, would you be able to train them?
Yeah, as far as like the way that the programs are built, the speed programs, they're based off of the actual sport. So with my training and background, you have to learn like kinesics, you have to learn bowing, you have to learn how all the muscles and fibers and tendons work, so in order for you to build a program. So take wrestling for instance, I would take all the movements in wrestling and build a customized program for that particular sport and train them based off of that.
Okay.
As far as kids signing up and payment goes, when kids come to you wanting to, train, do they sign up with like a pack of a certain number of workouts, or is it just individual ones?
Well, as far as the sports performance goes, I try to encourage most people to do a 6-week pack, minimum twice a week, because it takes time to actually see improvement in the actual speed and the actual power and the first step quickness. So I try to encourage them to do 6. I offer 6, 8, 10, 12-week package.
Do they pay for that like full up front, or is it payments?
Usually I have them pay half and then we'll do payments based off so say for instance you got an 8-week pack, you'll pay for half and then the second half be due at the 4th week.
How would you say you contact or how do these kids find out about it? Like the best way, and what would you say is like the weakness of how?
Well, since I've been up since '06, a lot of it has been word of mouth. But I was doing a lot of one-on-one stuff then. As far as last year, the way that I promoted it, I've been in youth sports for over 10 years, so I contact a lot of the youth organizations. Like I've been in Matthews Dickey I was coaching there for like 10 years, so I would use that particular platform and advertise through the youth organizations. So now I'm on the Pop Warner board, I have access to more youth organizations. So that's kind of how I'm tapping in. I don't have a great way to do the high schools other than my recruiting seminars. So that's kind of, and those are up and down, depending. Some seasons they're, you have anywhere from 2 to 7 a month. Some months I might not have any. It just depends on when the school can get them in there.
Do you have any like incentives that would go along with that, like maybe a refer a friend discount?
Yeah, we covered that in the first class. What I did last year was I did like an Easter type of deal like that. Bring a friend and get $5 off. I didn't do it every week. That might be something that might be worth looking at. But one of the ways that we're going to promote it is doing 5 free camps. And then everyone that signs up for a session, what I did last year, they got a free wristband. It has my company name, logo, and then on the inside it has the actual web address.
How much do you charge?
$25 a session.
What's the company that charges the cheapest? You said you're like the second.
I think probably, I'm not going to be the cheapest actually. I think Arlen charges like 40, Elite charges 40, and then Velocity is probably what, 50? I think 50?
Is that just, do you charge the same, like if you're doing like one-on-ones compared to like group sessions?
The one-on-ones is 25, and then if I'm doing group, I usually do 2 for 25, 2 sessions for 25. Because usually when I'm doing group, it's outside. Usually one-on-one is in a climate-controlled environment, so of course the cost goes up because I have to pay for the railroad facility.
Would you say most of the kids that you work with are in high school?
Majority, actually, the majority of them are middle school. I guess that's kind of that age where kids kind of start really taking it serious.
Where do you see like the most potential to expand explosion sports? Would it be with the kids camps, middle school kids?
Probably the way I described it in the first session, I think it's mostly that middle school, elementary school base, because eventually they're going to be high schoolers. And my goal is to build customer and brand loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the longer I can keep them in the program, it's better for me. Whereas at high school, I might get a senior, he's only there for 1 year before he leaves. So, I mean, we target all audiences, but we spend most of our revenue and advertising dollars in those particular areas.
So you'd be interested in like making partnerships with middle schools and possibly farm them in through high school?
Well, the thing with schools is they don't usually promote for-profit businesses. They usually only work with non-for-profit, so it's kind of hard to get in there and get them to promote some of the things. So I actually, the way I did the 7-on-7 and the Flag League was because I'm partnered with Pop Warner, which is a non-profit. They advertise through the school for me, for the leagues, and then I'll provide Explosion Sports. Like every kid that plays 7-on-7 or flag football get an Explosion Sports T-shirt and 1 free training session once their parents sign them up for flag. So I mean that gives me access to what? I mean, maybe 100 kids.
After a lot of the kids' session ends, do you think you have like a lot of returning kids as well with the renew a session?
Yeah, it just depends on like the football skills is kind of up and down. You know what I'm saying? But usually the sports performance stuff, they usually buy into those 6 weeks. So we're constantly getting those kids, and then we'll filter. If they're football players, we'll filter them over to the skills by giving them, you know, working out a deal for them to go to all 3.
So people who buy like a 6-pack or a 8-week pack, do they stay with the same group the whole time, or is there kind of like overlaps like different times?
Well, what we do is we put people in the beginning, middle, and kind of the advanced group. If they're starting to progress really fast, we'll kind of move them to the advanced footwork, advanced movement patterns and things of that nature. If they're kind of slowly getting, we'll keep them in the beginning stages. So.
And you said that you had groups of 10, of like 5 to 8 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you have also employees,
Mm-hmm.
and you said that 8 is about as many as you can handle.
Yeah.
So if you did get more kids, would you also have to get more employees, or just?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
do you pay them, or are they
Yeah.
volunteer?
Yeah, no, I don't want to volunteer
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the sports performance, I do probably 95% of all that. Most of my staff, they do administrative stuff, or they're doing more football skills development stuff.
Okay.
How do you communicate with these kids? Like, tell them about when they're working out, or?
You mean like, how do I advertise towards?
Well, like,
or?
if you have a kid who signs up and like you're gonna tell them like where the workout is and things like that. You call them, do you send them emails, do you send them
Usually I have them in my phone, and I'll just call their parent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on like a schedule, like Tuesday and Thursday? Okay.
Yeah, like for instance, like if you usually we'll do Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning. Those are usually the bigger days, and then they'll just come within those time frames. Like for instance, the workouts last summer, we did like with my advanced group. What we did, like one day we might work out on the hill, one day we might work out in the sand pit, one day we might work out on a flat ground. So I would communicate where we're going to be at as far as those workouts and things go. So.
Where is the location that you probably hold these the most? Like you have them at parks, right?
Well, I do run an indoor facility as well. in Delwood. We do some stuff there. I'm starting to do more stuff around my house over at Parkland North High School. But the best place is Forest Park because there's so many, like there's a huge sand volleyball pit that we work out in. There's tons of hills that we can do a ton of stuff in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did I skip anything, Coach? In the first session?
Not yet. I don't think they're done asking questions yet.
Do you have like statistics to show improvement in people who have participated in your camps?
Mm-hmm. We I would say we don't like when we do evaluation, we'll time, we'll do different things, and then we'll give them those as they go through the sports performance program.
Okay.
That's kind of how we monitor the progress.
Okay.
What does the growth of your company look like since you started? How many more kids have started to join and percentage-wise?
Well, I guess let me answer this in two phases. From 2006 to 2011, I was doing more one-on-one skills. I probably trained, in that particular time, I probably trained about 30 kids. All 30 of them got scholarships. Now, last year, we actually opened it up to more people, you know what I'm saying, small groups training. And weekly, we would probably work with anywhere from 30 to 50 kids. So, for the first year, I'm gonna call it the first year because we were starting to do more group stuff. 35 to 50 kids was pretty good. We're looking to actually double this year. So
as this has been more like a part-time on the side thing, and you're looking to double the growth of it, are you trying to move it towards like a full-time thing for you?
Eventually, probably 5 years. That's what I have down for a long time.
If you could sort of turn Explosion Sports into your, I don't want to say fantasy, but like perfect company, you know, like ideal, what would that look like to you?
Ideally, I would have my own training facility, number one, with indoor turf and maybe like a 60-yard track, weight facility, and then eventually being able to franchise it out.
What's your current situation with the website?
Actually, the website, I was with Vistaprint last year, and it had some performance issues as far as it wasn't as flexible with handling different things. I couldn't move things here. So I hired a company to actually do my website, and they did it in WordPress. Have you ever heard of WordPress? WordPress is like it's like a web development program, but it's more so for blogs. And the way they convinced me to go with it was, with WordPress, we have all these plugins. You know what I'm saying? So, like, one thing I needed to have was to be able to track data. So every time someone signs up, they fill out the form, and it goes to a database. Well, what happened was we used a plugin for that, and it killed the website. So, I mean, it's there, but it's not there. So we're trying to get the plugin off. So eventually, I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go back to Vistaprint just to get it up and back running. Because, I mean, it costs me money by it being down. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of deal right there. So I'm a little leery with all these plugins, especially we just added one and it killed the website. So.
And we were looking at your Facebook, and there were quite a few videos on there. The majority, I'd say, was videos. I mean, would you want to have like a separate maybe YouTube for that, and then have maybe Facebook for more like updates? Because I know you do a lot of updates on your Twitter.
Right.
But which one sort of gets more attention, the Twitter or the Facebook?
The Facebook, and I actually do have a YouTube channel as well. The thing with the Twitter, for me, I can't tweet it, you know what I'm saying, like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and for the industry that I'm in, I don't think it's necessarily needed.
Yeah.
What I use Twitter for is for to promote any upcoming clinics or any upcoming things that we're doing. But for the majority of the things that I do, I use Facebook. And I'll tell you a quick story. I told the first, what I did with the Facebook this year, I think I was Facebooking on my phone or something, but it was like, somehow it pulled all my contacts out of my phone and was like, do you want to add these people as your friend? So I was like, yeah. It was like 300, 400 people. So all these people are on like, with their clients, their whatever, friends, clients, and I imported all these people, so all these people jumped on my personal page. So what I did was, I'm using that, so anytime I post on my business page, it goes to my personal page, so it's actually giving me access to more people that that didn't actually like the business page. So it was kind of a slick way to do it, but I didn't think about it until, it's like, who are all these people? I didn't know half the people that were accepting the friend request. It's just like, but then I saw an opportunity there, so that's kind of, I hated to use my personal page, but, you know.
How would you say you advertise besides through nonprofits or through social media?
How do I advertise?
Like paid advertisements? Do you do any?
What we did last year, we shot a commercial and invited a lot of youth programs out, handed out free t-shirts, and then we also give out links for every training session. And then what I did last year, I volunteered, and we did actually 2 free camps last year with youth programs. So like, it was a pop warning team called the North County Founders. We just went out there and did it for free for like 2 hours, and that was one of the ways that we promoted it. As far as this upcoming year in 2013, there's I don't know how many you got chartered, but Charter they have a contract with Mamarito with the youth sports programs, and they do what's called Monday Night Game of the Week. We're going to be actually running our commercial on CCIN Monday Night Game of the Week this year, so that's probably going to be our biggest advertising expense this year, other than the 5 free camps.
How many Monday night games do they do? Just one?
No, it's usually about 8 or 9 over a season. Usually about 8 or 9 over a season.
And you'll have your commercial will play through all those games?
Yeah.
Is that what like the contract says?
Yeah, the way the contract is structured is if you buy the commercial package, they'll run the commercial, and then during the game you'll present like the Monday night game of the week MVP, and then they'll have your banner at the game. So it's kind of a whole package type deal. So I'll come to like maybe 2 Monday night games and award the MVP of the game type of deal. So and then they'll also have the banner, and then you can have flyers and stuff at the front gate. So.
I have a question on budget too. How exactly, does it cost a lot to have the camps like at the parks or in the indoor facilities, and like what percentage
of the budget goes? Well, at the parks it's actually free. In the facility it costs me probably, I think it's $80 an hour. So, and then the biggest thing with the parks is, for me as a trainer and then as a former athlete, I like to train athletes in the environment that they play in. I don't like training athletes in air conditioning when they play in the heat, because it takes your body a while to get used to it.
With this Monday night game of the week, you could be reaching potential customers outside of the 10 to 15 mile radius,
right,
all the high schools all over. If they were to sign up, would you attend to them, or would they come to you?
They would have to come to me.
Much of a profit doing this?
Well, the first year we didn't. Usually businesses, it takes usually probably what, 3 or 4 years to actually generate a profit. When I was doing individual, it was all profit. One thing that helps us get closer to breaking even is the college recruiting seminars. It doesn't cost me anything, because I go out there and then we'll talk numbers, since we talk numbers with the first group. For my college recruiting seminars, this is the way it's structured. It's through Dynamite Sports, who's sponsored by Tony Gonzalez, the tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. So I get $350 just for showing up and doing an hour seminar. Now, with that, at the end of the seminar, they have me refer to the book, and people purchase the book. The book goes for $10 a purchase, and I get $5 off each book. And then they also do a survey at the end for a company called NCSA. I don't know how many of you guys have actually heard of them, but they're a college recruiting service nationally. And for every person that checks yes, I want NCSA to contact me, I get a percentage off of that. So within an hour, I can make anywhere from $350 to about $500 for that. So that helps with a lot of the costs. And then also training at the parks doesn't cost me anything. So the biggest expense comes from the actual training at the facility and the actual staff.
Do the students who train in an indoor facility pay more than the students who train at Forest Park?
Mm-hmm. They pay $25 a session, and that's why I only do group sessions there. So you know what I'm saying? So that's the reason I only do groups there.
And that's more expensive than training at Forest Park with a group?
Mm-hmm. At Forest Park, I do 2 for $25. So you get 2 sessions a week for $25.
About how many college sessions do you usually do in like a month? Or
how many what's
college seminars?
Oh, college seminars. It just varies. Usually in between 2 and 7. I usually because I used to do more. They used to pay for travel, so I would drive all the way out to almost Columbia to do stuff. But now they kind of build that in there, and it's not, it doesn't cover the travel expenses as much, so I don't travel as far. Because I used to do, my first one was at Grandview High School in Kansas City. For anybody that watches football, the first one was with Josh Freeman from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a senior before he went to Kansas State. So I got to meet him, but to go all out to Kansas City, I was doing so.
How long is a session? If you just have some kids going to Forest Park, how long are you there?
They use an hour, 15 minutes.
When was your recent college seminar that you did?
Last fall, actually, I did it at Parkway Newark.
So when you go about giving your seminars, are you contacted, or do you go and promote this program?
Well, the way I'm doing it now is I hire a few college kids, because I can't really make a lot of phone calls while I'm at work during the day. Mm-hmm. So I hire college kids to actually call ADs and actually set up. And the way I pay them is for each contact. So it might take you 2-3 days just to get in contact with one AD. You might have to call back 2 or 3 because they're constantly moving into school. Mm-hmm. So for every appointment you set up, you get $50, and then it's their job to continually contact the ADs to make sure that they're advertising to their student body and to the parents. So I give them, on top of the $50 just for making contact, I go in and I set the date with the actual ADs as far as their appointment. And then for every family that shows up, the college student gets $1 for every family. So they can get $75 to you know what I'm saying? They can make $125 just for calling the AD. And you do, 4 or 5 of those a month, and it might only cost you an hour a day.
And how many kids usually show up to these seminars?
It just depends on, and that's the incentive for the student to actually keep calling the AD to advertise it, because it's based off how the athletic director actually advertises. Some will say they're advertising and they won't, and some, like, for instance, the best schools that I've been to that done a great job in the St. Louis area was Hazelwood. They promoted to all the Hazelwoods. And the second one is Parkway. They promoted to all Parkway schools. So usually, usually anywhere from 175 families to the largest I've done is 200 families.
Do kids have to pay to come to the seminars?
No, they're actually free for the student and the parent, and they're free for the school. It doesn't cost the school anything. So I think with ADs, a lot of times, since it doesn't cost them anything, they don't always advertise. And that's the incentive for the callers, is to keep calling, making sure that they're advertising, making sure they're sending things out. Because it's free, for them. So.
Do the schools make anything on this summer?
They don't. All they have to do is open up the auditorium at 7 and close it down once I leave by 8:30. But what they're getting is their student athletes and their parents are getting information which is invaluable, and it doesn't cost the school. One other thing, if you think about it, it's hard for counselors actually to get a bunch of information, especially when they're assigned 500 students per counselor. You know what I'm saying? So every student doesn't get everything that they need. And that's not the counselor's fault. It just depends on the size of the school. Some counselors at a smaller school might only have 25 students. So the student has, what we preach is the student has to be proactive in approaching the counselor and getting the information that they need to qualify for college. So, great questions.
Anybody else? Okay, I've got one, and it's a little more in depth about your Perfect Explosion Sports Academy. And you don't have to go in depth if you don't really want to. But what if you were doing this full time? What would that look like for you?
Well, in order to do it full time, I would have to actually get out of the sports arena.
Okay.
Because of the athletes that I work with are usually high school, middle school, elementary students. So they only come in after school.
Right.
Or if they want the Breakfast Club workout, which is at like 5 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
and you don't get too many of those. So that would leave the whole, a whole 8-hour block of doing nothing. The way most facilities like this kind of do, they'll do personal training as well. Anybody heard of Hammer Bodies on page? If you look at their name, it says customized fitness. So they do like classes. They might, do regular personal training with non-athletes. Even like it's one called D1. They do other stuff outside of actually working with athletes. And then Velocity does customized fitness for like regular people. And so if I had to do it full time, I would have to go in that direction. So.
Okay. I assume the salary would have to be supplemented as well. You'd be able to do that at some point too.
But I mean, once you made it to that particular point, usually you're doing pretty well.
Right.
Because I mean, a lot of those facilities are $1 million facilities.
Anybody else got anything?
Are you looking to stay into the North County area, or?
Actually, we're looking to branch out. I got a meeting with these guys called the Buddha-Ridge, German name. Buddha-Ridge is next week. They have a facility in South County, so we're looking to branch out in South County next year.
Okay, so I think we've asked like a lot of like smaller questions leading up to this question, but I just want like kind of like a clear-cut answer. Like, what are you looking for us to do for you? Like, what's the main goal for us?
The main goal is to actually help me and give me some more ideas on how to reach your age group. I have a lot of avenues, a lot of inroads, and it's a matter of just putting it all together. You know what I'm saying? I have ideas on what I want to do, but at this particular point, it's not straight